Well, I think that you want to end on just like the powerful gut punching note for this one, because, as you think about your career and where you've come, I know that I left a lot of wreckage in my wake as I've built this business.
You're listening to the Presidential Experience Podcast, the place where we chronicle man's search for meaning over money. I'm your host, Kanae Corder, National Certified Counselor and Clinical Hypnotherapist specializing in financial therapy for high achievers. As a former Morgan Stanley financial advisor, I realized that high achievers needed help with more than just the numbers. And I bring a unique set of skills to my private practice as I guide CEOs and high achievers on how to manage their stress so they can enjoy their success. I want to bring some of that to you here. So each week, we'll start a discussion addressing one of the top stressors for high achievers. You've built a stellar resume. Now it's time for you to build a stellar life. Your hard work brought you money. Now it's time to turn that money into meaning here on the Presidential Experience Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Presidential Experience Podcast. You guys, you're going to see a side of me today that you probably haven't seen because I am hanging out with my girlfriend, Sara Webb, today. Oh, let me just tell you that there are few women like Sara Webb. She is smart, she's beautiful, she's feminine, she's like just gracious, she's powerful. And what I like about her so much, she's so kind. But what I love about her the most is she's this really great mom and wife. And once she said to me that she's the CEO of In Tandem Production, but Matt Webb is the CEO at home. And I just loved that philosophy that she had. Now, despite her humble femininity, she is running a multi-million-dollar company. So she's not your typical woman. She is big, she's bad, she's bold, and she wins awards like the Trailblazer Award given to her by Greater Women's Business Council, where she's now on the marketing committee there. She also serves on the board of the Partner Group. The Partner Group is a buying group representing over 100 million in promotional sales. And because she's always educating herself and developing herself, she's a member of EO, Entrepreneur Organization. Sara's passion is to be a role model for young women entrepreneurs, including her daughters. And I'll add, including her friend Kanae, the host of the Presidential Experience Podcast. And I say that because I've learned so much from her, and I'm always inspired by her. The thing I love most, I think, about my friend and colleague, Sara, is that she knows how to juggle all the moving parts of life and business. And although she doesn't always get all of it right, she shows up 100%. And that is honorable. Sara said, ever since she can remember, she has been a juggler, juggling activities, careers, family, friends, volunteering. Sara has learned through all that juggling that she can do it herself, but it's far easier and not to mention more fun to juggle with partners. Today, we're going to talk to Sara about how she manages stress running a multi-million-dollar business and how she helps her clients manage stress by wowing their customers and their employees. You're in for a treat, so please join me in welcoming our guest today, my friend Sara Webb. Hey, Sara.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Kanae, this is awesome. You know that I am a huge fan. You see so much in everyone else, and you're such a strong presence in my life and guiding me on this crazy journey. So I'm so excited to be here.
I am too, because I say this a lot to my friends, but I mean it the most with you. We do not get to spend enough time together.
I know. which is one of the things that I'm excited to talk to you about. And, how do we manage and juggle this
Yeah.
crazy life throughout this conversation today?
Yes, thank you. I do want to have that conversation. I think so many people, I think men somehow end up being better at it than women, but I think women now are making a much bigger, um, I guess, change in their lives where they are including other things and help them get to their best and highest good rather than just pouring themselves into other people. They're looking at what they need to. What would you say?
I would completely agree with that. So, one of the hardest journeys that I've had to figure out is compartmentalizing, but then also being diligent and then very protective of my time. And I was so used to, in sales, which was where I started, I, your time was never your own because you're always running to the clients and trying to feed the beast and bring in new sales and things like that. And then as I've moved into this new role, I have realized how sacred time is and just trying to figure out how to compartmentalize, but then budget and then be consistent. Between those three, it's a daily struggle for sure.
Hmm. Yes, and we actually are going to come back to that compartmentalized. I want to go deeper there, but before we do that, let me ask you, what is your idea of prosperity?
So I knew you were going to ask me this question, and I still am struggling with my answer. It's so hard, and if you caught me on one day, I would say something. If you caught me on another
Hmm.
day, I would say something else. This has been for sure a crazy week for me, as I shared offline with you earlier. And with that, I think my definition today of prosperity is breathing room. Trying to figure out, having time and energy to brainstorm creatively on my business versus in my business is always something that I feel like I'm catching this rainbow or this, unicorn. And then, for my team to be thriving professionally and personally so that they're not stressed. So again, having a little bit of breathing room to for them to feel confident and being able to manage their day. And then even for, my girls to feel like I am not always, rushing through. It's not always rushing through, but to have more time with them. And then of course, my husband as well. So I think today, because I feel very compressed, it would definitely be breathing room would make me feel very make me
Yes.
feel very prosperous.
Yes, I so know what you mean. I was just talking to a woman. So in Vegas, I do hypnotherapy at a place called the Salt Room, and the owner of the Salt Room and I were talking, and she said that kind of said same thing, that rushing, rushing, rushing through. So she's rushing to take her son to school, and he's young, so he's learning and experiencing things, and he stepped on a bunch of leaves and they crunched under his feet, and he was just fascinated by it. And so he's like, "Mommy, look!" And then he's stepping and crunching, and she's like, "We don't have time for this. Like, get in the car, right?" And
Yes,
she's like,
yes.
"Oh my gosh, like he's discovering something, and I'm so in a rush that I can't enjoy this with him." And she had to take a minute to just like you said, breathe and say, "Yeah, leaves, they turn from green to brown, and they get crunchy, or whatever way she explained it to him." And it was like one of those moments when you really, when you realize you do just have to breathe sometimes.
And I think it's in those moments where you actually become a better human and you're more connected.
Mhm.
But then you get 5 more things in your email box, and we're just in such a different time, and I think everybody is struggling with trying to figure it all out because, before my client communications would come in with an email, and now they're coming in at me through Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and text messages and email, and so I feel like everybody is pulled in so many different directions. So trying
Yeah.
to wrangle that, I think, and having a little bit more control over it, not total obsessive control, but enough control where I can feel like I can actually be successful at something,
Yes, yes. And we're going to talk about that control when we talk about the compartmentalized. But let me see if I can. I'm wondering. how has your idea of prosperity changed? Because you said, it's different on different days. So how has that evolved? How has that changed?
Well, when I was growing up, I grew up in middle class suburbia, and my mom was a school teacher, and my father was the epitome of a used car salesman. And we grew up struggling, and I because I was in middle class suburbia, you see what everybody else has, and then what you don't have.
Mm,
So I think my idea of growing up, and that's really what set my mindset and my, uh, I guess my direction in life was that the only people that I saw successful were the people on TV, or my vision of what I thought was successful at the time on TV. And there were the women lawyers and like the three-piece suits and the business
mm,
cases. And so growing up, my vision of being, uh, was filled with prosperity was more along, okay, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to make a lot of money. uh, and yes, I love money, that's why I'm in business, I want to make a profit. But I think it's also just having more of a 360-degree view of yourself, and being prosperous in each one of life's areas. So, personally,
yeah.
professionally, relationally, and then also for yourself personally, not just, family and friends. It's, you know, feeling confident and taking care of yourself as well.
And I'll just point out that I see that EO is working.
It has been a great organization. I'm so excited to have found it. But then I think, to find people to find a group of people that understand where you're coming from, and for you to not feel like you're on an island all the time, and that's where it's been really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so there with you. And I get that. I've talked to many people and I've seen that the idea of prosperity, it shifts and it changes over the years. And now we talked about compartmentalizing, and part of that compartmentalizing, and we were talking about this earlier, is how is your conversation different, because you have to compartmentalize around certain people because you can't talk to certain people about certain subjects, and the way your life is now is maybe completely different from the way it was before. And I remember for myself just having to like change my conversation around certain people. Do you experience that?
Yes, and I hate it. I hate it. And so because one of the things about me is that I am who I am. I'm crazy and intense, and I have a good time. But my business is so much a part of who I am, and it's where my brain it's where my mind frame is. I mean, just like my family, my friends, but I mean, the business is a big part of me. And so when I feel either I need to shrink myself, that's been something I've been trying to work on. I shrink myself to be
Mm,
smaller so that I can have not different conversations, but conversations that are
yeah.
more in line with the people that I'm speaking with, and or if I'm talking with somebody and I feel like I need to go in a different direction. So yes, that I I haven't quite figured out how to be myself, but then also not talk about the business because it's who I am, you know?
Yep. I can attest to that. One thing I will say is, even though you may not think you have it figured out, I think you have, because I've been with you. We've been knowing each other a few years now, and when we're together, it blends. You ask me about my dating life and other questions like that, but then we also talk about business and what's new and where we're going next, and we hold each other accountable and we give each other ideas. So I think maybe you have, when you're around people who bring out the best in you. Did I just compliment myself?
Well, because I was going to say people who aren't, and I don't want to say threatened because that's not the right word, but people who challenge.
Mm, yeah,
I feel like you and I have such a great relationship, and I am cheering for your successes, and you are cheering for my successes,
yeah,
and so like I want to hear
yeah,
everything that's going on with you personally and professionally, and I think that's what makes our
yeah.
relationship so good is that you can feel when I'm at my max capacity of being able to deal with life. And what I love about it is and 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 our relationship is that, you know, when I pull back, you don't let me, but you don't suffocate me either. You're like, "Hey, I just want you to know I'm thinking about you."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Oh, can I?" Like perfect timing ever. But a lot of people aren't like that. They are either and I don't want to use terms like jealous or threatened, but you feel like I'm being octopused, where somebody's suffocating
Yeah,
you to go out or to and I think that's
yeah.
definitely one of your strong assets for sure is your ability to see inside people and know what they need based off of the conversation.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, because I see where you're going with that because people do take it personally. They take it so personally when you can't go out for that drink or when you can't get together with them. And instead of understanding, like you said, I loved your words. You're at your best capacity because your heart is in it. If you have a great heart, so if you had the time, you would totally be there. But you're at your max. You are juggling, and there's too many balls in the air right now, and one more ball will crash everything. So you can't.
Yes, yes. And I think it's the difference between like I want to go and hang out and have a good time, but I need
Mhm.
to be, taking care of X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z. Trying to figure out that balance is always a hard struggle.
Yeah. And that's the meaning. That's the meaning in our lives, the meaning over money and really finding and that's why we do this podcast is there is no, it's not a I guess it's not a 1 + 1 = 2. It's probably more like I don't know algebra that well anymore, or like, trigonometry, but it's probably a lot more complicated than the 1 + 1 = 2. There's there's some sort of algorithm around how you get to your idea of prosperity, how you find that meaning in life, and how you still get money. Because, like you said, we are running profitable companies, and $1 million company takes a certain amount of energy and time. So you got to give it to it if you want to continue to grow it. Now, speaking of $1 million company, tell me more about In Tandem and tell our audience more about In Tandem because I'd rather them hear it from you than from me because you can do it justice.
Well, in Tandem Promotions, I have been in business for over 7 years, and we are a woman-owned business. We're located in just north of Atlanta, Georgia, and we focus on making sure that our clients stop trick or treat marketing. And so, what has happened in our industry, in the promotional products industry, is that a lot of times when you go to a trade show or an event, you'll have some product on the table for them to stop by and pick up. But what we challenge our clients and thinking with is instead of just picking up that one item and taking it home, it's what do they plan to do with it? What are you going to do to make sure that you're driving all of that home? And then what are the results with that, and how do you focus more on branding with purpose? And so we do that through a lot of different avenues and channels. We have safety programs and online stores. We do awards and recognition. Then we also have custom products, and we have in-house warehousing, embroidery, fulfillment, heat transfer. So a wide breadth and depth of options that are available to our clients. And we target a solution that's going to be best for them. If you think about when you go to an event and everybody's taking a million different pictures. And so however you're branding for that event, that is going to go on forever. It's shared and reshared and posted, and it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on all of the different channels, it's Snapchatted. And so we make sure that your brand and your image has that meaning, that purpose, and it drives home the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. And I know you do it well because we have used in tandem productions, and every single time I give one of our products away, it's like somebody is so impressed with it. They're like, "Oh, this is so good. Oh, this is so cute." Or, "Oh, this is," like it makes a statement. And so I love when you said branding with purpose, because we sit down with our rep, because even though you're my friend, that's not your job to sit down with me and figure out. You hire people to do that. So when I sat down with my rep, and we really brainstormed. It wasn't just like, "Oh, what do you want?" Sometimes you use these marketing companies and they're just like, "Oh, tell me what you want," and then they give it to you, and then you go away. Maybe you see them again, or maybe you don't. But there was like a conversation, and outside of that conversation, she was still thinking about how to bring home our purpose and why we want what we want them to feel and leave with. And it was more than just, "Oh, let's get a mug or a t-shirt." It was like, how is this going to be utilized? Where is it going to be? When do you want them to think about you? And what's the feeling that goes along with how they feel about you? So I so agree. You guys do a great job at that. And I've experienced it. But also, you sent me, or your team sent me, a mug for Christmas, and I use that thing every
I
single
love
morning.
that. I love that. Well, and I love the quote. So, next month is Women in History Month. And so we are totally going to be posting about the Eleanor Roosevelt, the quote that's on that mug. But I'm glad that you use it every single morning. That makes my heart happy.
Yes. And let me tell you, it's so good. It's not because it's like the Yeti or whatever mug. And so I can walk away from my tea and an hour later come back, and it is the same temperature it was when I left it. And it's crazy. I love that thing.
Oh,
And so I couldn't even forget you if I wanted to, right? Not that you're my friend. So of course I'm not gonna forget you. But if any other company sent me that mug, I am with you every single morning. Who else am I going to do business with?
well, and that's what's so cool about our industry is that it's products that are directly in your hand that impact your day in and day out. They're in front of you, they're branded. Everything else happens so fast. Your whatever your post is, whatever your e-blast is, it all goes by really, really fast. And so, yes, you have to, continue with that side of your marketing game. But the cool thing about product is that it has lasting staying power. So the ROI is tremendous on how many times, on impression just for yourself, you're getting 365 impressions of me just every morning. So I love it.
Yes. So tell me then, so I know for our company, but let's just come up with a fictitious company. When would somebody call in Tandem Productions? Because I find that you have helped us manage stress in so many situations in so many ways. But I remember you telling me that we called at a time that was early enough where people typically don't call you. They call you later in this process. And I was so proud of myself when you told me that. I was like, "Oh yes, look at us." So tell us about that, because I think it.
You get a gold star today.
Thank you. I love a gold star. But I think it was really important when you said that, because I don't think people are thinking about it in the way that you explained it to me. And I was so glad that we did come to you when we did. So tell me about the timing of when people come to you.
So we are so good right in the beginning. And so we're good throughout the process, but we can be really, really good right in the beginning while you're starting to brainstorm. So my favorite case studies and the best working relationships that we have are a lot of times our clients will come to us at the first of the year or the first of their fiscal year. And we will sit down with you and help brainstorm on what does your brand look like? What are the key components that you are putting out in the marketplace? what does that translate to in trade shows or events? What kind of networking organizations are you part of? And then we can really put together a complete package of ideas based off of those different levels. And, people are like, well, is this going to be expensive? Or all of that is free consulting. You come to our office, you see our showroom, or we come to you, or we put together, or we can do an online call, whatever is most convenient. But us knowing that information up front, what's awesome about our industry now versus 10 years ago was there are new product launches that are happening every single quarter, and different factories come out with different products on a quarterly basis now. And so we get to see new things. So you're just like your business, it's going to be fluid and dynamic. So everything can change, but at least we have an idea of what is your core purpose? And then with us having that knowledge, we can build out promotions and suggestions for you. So for example, Wellstar just had an event, and with them, it was less about the giveaways and more about the experience. So we did these custom pillows throughout the entire event space. It popped with color. It was limited budget. We only did 24 pieces. But there's things like that you can do to add color, to add branding, and to give that little advantage of customization that many people aren't doing. And so it's really thinking about your brand from start to finish is how we work. What's happening now in the market that I would love for everybody to know about is the coronavirus. Many of our products are produced in China. There are US-made products. There are products that are made in Mexico and in other countries, but a lot of the products are made in China. And so with the shutdown of many of the factories, that's pushed production out. And other factories are at max capacity. So things for businesses to be aware of is working with a partner that has a lot of inventory options, which is a company like mine, where we're part of a buying consortium. We are part of this partnership where we will have access to inventory no matter what the situation is. Many other products are being shipped on the containers. There's going to be a backlog as factories start open and production starts happening. So there'll be a backlog of products coming in from the ports. So really having working with a promotional partner that is able to support all of these crazy things that happen is very key and vital. So definitely ahead of the game helps. It gives us an opportunity to brainstorm and put together a complete package. But then we also still have the clients that call us up. We had a couple even this week that called us up on Wednesday, and we produced several 100,000 pieces that are delivering on Monday. So things like that happen on a regular. It's not my favorite, but with who we are and our capabilities, we can definitely help support all of those range of needs.
Yes, and I want to talk about that because that can be stressful. So, but before I talk about that, I think what I like the most about working with you guys is that I have something for each part of my business. So sometimes I need a conversation starter. And so I have one promotional
Mhm.
product for that, right? Sometimes I need to give a gift, like people who come on the podcast. Even some of my clients pay a premium, and having conversations, there's not always something to walk away with. So being able to send them a gift so that they can remember, oh yeah, these conversations with Kanae are how I manage my stress, is how I turn my money into meaning, that kind of thing. And it's kind of like you sent me the Yeti mug, and every morning I'm having tea with you, even though you're not there. Your mug is. It reminds me and gives you that
I
warm
love
feeling.
it. I wish I
Right.
was. I wish I was
I
there.
know. So I feel like you feel so many spaces because you named so many different things earlier of what you guys can do, and you feel so many spaces that do you feel like people can get overwhelmed or even feel some stress around how to decide all of these products and where to what employee incentives to put out there and customer and all of those different places. What would you say about that? How do people manage that?
Hey, I'm wondering,
Do you feel like it's time to manage your stress so you can enjoy your success? Have you gotten to the point where you'd rather be appreciated for who you are rather than what you do? Well, if finding meaning in life is a high priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a good fit for working with me and my team over here at Presidential Lifestyle, here's what I want you to do. Head on over to presidentiallifestyle.com/private dash conversation to book a private conversation with me so we can determine what's stopping you from creating that meaningful life. You'll get on the phone with me for about 60 minutes to get to the bottom of what's stressing you right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create. Like, how much money do you want to have? How healthy do you want to be? How much love do you want to give and receive? What will happen is we'll take a closer look at where you are right now, as well as where you want to be. And if me and my team can help you bridge the gap between those two, we'll show you the fastest way. We help CEOs and high achievers all over the world navigate through stress so they can enjoy their success and turn their money into meaning. So, to see if we can help you do that same thing, head on over to presidentiallifestyle.com/private dash conversation or simply click the link in the show notes. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Do you feel like people can get overwhelmed or even feel some stress around how to decide all of these products and where to, what employee incentives to put out there and customer and all of those different places? What would you say about that? How do people manage that?
That's such a great question. And it's one that my sales team and I have been brainstorming all of this year. We've been reading the Challenger Sales. And so it's a book that's focused more on, how do people want to receive information and how are you presenting that information? And in doing this book study, we've come to question a lot of how we're presenting that information. There are over 1 million different products in my business, a million. And that's before you get into custom and everything else. It's crazy. And so, for somebody like me, I love it because I see infinite opportunity and infinite possibilities based off of, your brand and your budget and timelines and things like that. But you're right, it can get daunting. And so I did one RFP, and this was a shame on me, where I thought I'm going to show them a lot of opportunity and a lot of ideas. And they came back and they're like, you didn't win because it was too much. We couldn't wrap our heads around it. And so that was some great constructive feedback because where I got excited about we could do this, we could do this. It was not how they needed to receive the information. And, and some of that is just learning and knowing your client and knowing how to present it. We definitely have some clients that are like, give me 5 ideas. And so we give them the 5 ideas. And if we hit, and based off of having previous conversations and really knowing the client, then we can hit those 5 ideas. If you're a prospect, I'm not sure if you like matte finish or you like shiny. Do you like big logos? Do you like little logos? All of that comes in understanding your client and your prospective client and finding the best product based off of that. Some of our clients, they want to see everything. They were like, send me a catalog. And I mean, we haven't printed catalogs in years because everything changes and pricing changes and things like that. And so, we can send them these really big decks that it makes them feel like they've gone through a wider range of products. So I think, the real answer to the question is it definitely depends. And I think the questions need to be you need to ask the question of your client, how do they like to receive the information? So that we can narrow some things down based off of that. Because I definitely learned my lesson in that one.
Yeah, and that is a great question. That is a really great question, and that's actually something that we teach in our program. Just really having that self awareness and understand that because they may not even know, so you can help them drill down and kind of discover how they like to receive information, which is going to have me wrap back around to something that we talked about earlier, and that is that this information is coming at you in all different directions on Instagram and email and phone calls and text messages. And how are you managing the stress of all of that and controlling the controllable to help you run a multi-million-dollar company?
Well, when I have that answer, I will definitely tell you. Because I'm still figuring it out. I'm still figuring it out. So, one of my key focuses from 2019 to 2020 was, what is your system? What worked for me years ago is not working for me now. And I think that was one of the hardest realizations, was that I was dropping balls and just trying to keep up with the needs of the team, keep up with my own work, keep up with prospecting, keeping up with the business needs. And so I realized, number one, that it wasn't working, and I'm still trying to figure out my system. One of the key lessons that I have learned is that I have to set my schedule, and I have to be diligent with it. So, when I set off my blocks of time, I have to be realistic, which I wasn't. I was operating in Sarah fluffy cloud world where it's, oh yes, so there's plenty of time, and that's not the reality. And so, making sure that I have enough time to get from point A to point B versus scheduling right up until the meeting. Giving myself what I call Sarah work days. Teachers block off work days for a reason. And so that was one of the hard lessons for me, is that I need a day during the week, not just on the weekends, not just at night, where I can just focus on what I need to focus on. And my team knows I cannot be disturbed. I will not be responding to your emails. You will be getting a lot of emails from me, but I will not be responding to any of the things coming in my inbox. I'm going to be focused more on getting it out. So I think setting up that schedule. The other thing that I did successfully in 2019, and I've so far done successfully in 2020, is making sure that I work out in the morning instead of at night. Because in the evenings, it was everybody else's time, and then by the time my day was done, I was then getting to my work. And so I get up at about 4:30, and 4:45 is when I have to get out of the bed. And then at 5:15, I do a workout class, and my husband's actually in the class with me. And so I've got some accountability, but then at the same time, it's something that we can do together. And we're done at 6:15 in the morning. We get the kids on the bus, and then our day can start. So I've carved that out, and I've done that successfully. Now it's just figuring out, how do I keep the rest of it moving, and just forcing myself to really have time constraints.
But you're right on target because it's baby steps. You get one part done. I think that's a misconception when it comes to stress management, is that you've got to tackle it all. And no, it's not. It's one thing. You focus on one thing, you get that. You focus on the next thing, you get that. And the way the brain works, as you guys have heard me say before, the brain learns slow and the brain learns fast. You really don't want the brain to learn fast, because that's usually a catastrophic event that forces you into changing everything. And the way you would prefer the brain to learn is the way you learned your ABCs, A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You just kept saying it over and over. So that repetition, you get that course step, you get your workout class down, and then you move on to that next thing, and then the next thing. And now you need to cut off these people at this time, and you need to not take messages on Instagram. Like, you start to learn it, and then you just put things in place and boundaries, and then it just becomes a way. And next thing you know, it's flowing, and you're like, oh shoot, a year ago, I would have freaked out when this happened. And now I'm like calm and peaceful. It slowly happens. And it's beautiful to watch for me. It's beautiful when I watch people go through it, but you'll also see it in yourself and be quite proud of yourself.
I think it is too, is being patient with the process.
Yes.
I mean, and not giving up, because there's so many times where I'm like, oh, I don't want to get up, or I feel like I'm not making any progress, or today was a disaster, and then you just scrap all of it. And I've had to like watch myself and just be like, dude, you can't like just one foot and then another and keep maintaining. So exactly like you said, just forcing yourself to keep building, even though it's not always, it's not easy and it's not a second nature.
Totally, totally. That's a great. I like the way you put that. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our interview, and I'm so sad because I want to spend more time with you, and I hate that it's almost over, and I have so many more questions to ask you, but I'm going to narrow it down to two more questions. And one of those questions is, hmm, tell me about what you sacrificed as you built this multi-million dollar company.
Well, I think that you want to end on just like the powerful gut punching note for this one because, as you think about your career and where you've come, I know that I left a lot of wreckage in my wake as I've
I love it.
built this business. And I, I've loved my journey, but there's definitely been a lot of sacrifice on all fronts. The first thing that I've definitely had to refocus my energy on is my health. I'm not the spring chicken that I was when I started the business, and where I could go for weeks and days without any sleep, drinking tons of coffee, 2-3 hours a night. Um, I can't do that anymore. And I used to be a really big runner. And then when I started the business, you know, every ounce of energy was taking into the business. And so, I'd put my health on hold. I was eating whatever I could get my hands on whenever I could. And it takes a toll on you. And so I definitely sacrificed my health. The other thing that I sacrificed, from personally was my mental state. I let a lot of naysayers in my brain. When the business, something would not happen the way that I wanted to in the business, I would just be like, is this really what I need to do? Would have total imposter syndrome. Is this, you're a salesperson? Are you really a CEO? So just trying to battle from my own uh, brain and getting rid of some of those intense thoughts that I have and shoving those out. So personally, have been my biggest sacrifices on myself throughout these years. But then with my family, my girls, they're growing up very fast. I've got a lot of pictures, and we spend a lot of time together, but it's never enough, obviously, and especially as my oldest daughter's going into high school. I've basically have 4 years left with her, and I've traveled a lot. I've met some really amazing people, but when you travel, you're away from all of it. And so, that has definitely been a big sacrifice. And then even, time with my husband, and being able to, when we didn't have kids, we were able to co-travel. So, we would try and boondoggle trips and things like that. But when you have kids, you have a whole other element. And so, even as the kids are growing, we're also looking forward to that time in our lives where we can both co-travel again together. So I think that, and then like we had discussed earlier, even friends, the friends that I've had to say goodbye to or say, I'll catch up with you later. I've had to sacrifice some of those relationships too, just because I couldn't keep up and I couldn't, be there or be what they needed me to be in that relationship.
Yeah. Yep. All of that and then some.
Yeah.
We probably could talk a whole podcast on that.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. So I want to wrap up with one more question, and it's the question that we ask every guest, and that is, what is the best advice you've ever received, or the advice you wish somebody would have told you?
Um, you know, there has been a lot. I think earlier in my career, I wish that somebody would have said, you're other people's opinions of you are none of your business. And that's from Rachel Hollis. I wish that I had not concentrated or spent the energy on hearing and listening to what the naysayer said. I have a quote on my computer to remind me, and this is from Nelson Mandela. There's no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. And that's my current reminder, and focus is that, I was not here. I was not put in this time in this place to remain in this time in this place. And it's my job and my responsibility to continue to grow and build and provide increase in whatever form or fashion or prosperity that looks like. That is my job. That is why I'm here. And so that's been my current advice that I play over and over in my brain when I feel like, oh, really? Did this just happen? Or one more email, or one more quote. It's this is all good. This is all leading up to the next phase, the next level.
Yeah, yes. I love how you said that. I was not, wait, I don't even remember your exact words, but it resonated. It was like, you're not going to stay in this time and place. You're going to evolve and move. And, that whole EO 360 and, all that stuff that you're learning. And the stuff that you don't necessarily, let's just say, learn, but remember. Because some of this stuff we already know. And it's just like a reminder. Oh, yeah, that's right. I know this already. Why didn't I do it? I don't know.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I know. I love this is why I love hanging out with you. And this is why I said what I said in the beginning, because you will always get to see this vulnerable side of me. You'll always get to see this like raw honesty, but that is what you and I always get to when we're together, like that raw honesty. And even though we can like give each other a hard time and give ourselves a hard time, at the end we end up building ourselves and each other up.
And that's what I love. I love about what you're doing and helping other entrepreneurs see their own light, and then also giving them. I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves permission, and you give us permission on whatever we need to be focused on, and tell and share how to give us more insight on how to move forward with whatever direction we're moving in. And that's what I love about what you're doing in with your business, and then with this podcast, and then with other entrepreneurs as well. It's amazing. And I love that you are my friend, and I get that as an added bonus in my own life.
Yay. And I get a bonus too. Yes. Well, oh my gosh, Sarah, I can't believe the time is up. And we have got to freaking get together. Like that has to happen.
You need to come back from out west.
I know. I did put a wrench in our friendship when I moved out west. But it was so good for talk about sacrifices. It was so good for our business. It's so good for our business to be west. A wellness company just makes more sense in the west than it does in the south.
All those weird people out there. Right. We love them. We love them and their creativity, especially from a technology standpoint. But they need all of the help that you can give them out there, because they're stressed out.
Yes, so true. They are stressing themselves out, and we are happy to help. So, oh my gosh, thank you so much for taking the time out from sacrificing from the business. I know you have new employees starting this week, and so for you to hold to this conversation that we plan to have, I know that so many people are going to benefit from just hearing how authentic you are and saying, I don't always have it all figured out, but whatever happens, happens, and I'm just proud to still be in the game, because that's what I heard. When I wrap everything up that you said, that is what I heard you say. I do it well, I do it wrong, but I'm doing it. So there. Because that's just what life is about. Yeah. Sometimes you're going to do it well. Sometimes you're going to do it wrong. You'll be like, dang it, why did I do that? I didn't want it to turn out that way. And I love the wake you said. It's like you leave this wreckage behind as you build this company. But once you get the company built and formed, the work that I do is to help you go back and smooth out some of that, some wreckage, so that you can feel that meaning. So Thank you for allowing me into your life, even for just an hour. And don't worry, I'll be back.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Kanae.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. We have so much more in store for you. This was just our second EO conversation, but you can already see from the entrepreneurs that we're interviewing, they're real, they are authentic, and they're powerful. And if you're not learning, if you're not being mentored by a millionaire, $1 million, somebody who's running a company that you would want to run, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you can listen to your friends, but they are not going to tell you what you need to hear. So listen to somebody who's doing what you want to do in the time that it really takes to do it. Because I think that's a misconception too. We think that it's some wave that magic wand, and you've heard it here today. It's not a wave of magic wand. It is sacrifice, and it comes with some effort, but a lot of love and having the right people around you. So keep listening. We got more for you, and we'll see you next week.
Feeling stressed? Wondering, what's it all about? Well, you're not alone. And maybe you're not ready for a private conversation yet. Take the Life of Meaning quiz. It's the first step in determining how close or far you are in creating a life of meaning. A study revealed 76% of Americans reported feeling stress either some or all of the time in the last 30 days. The number one cause of that stress was money, not because they don't have it, but because they want more of it. But life is about more than money. It's about meaning. So take the Life of Meaning quiz and move toward peace and away from stress. It's just a click away. Go to presidentiallifestyle.com/meaning-quiz. You'll get the answers you've been looking for. You'll determine how close or far you are from creating a life of meaning. How does that sound? Then click the link. The link is in the show notes. Go to presidentiallifestyle.com/meaning-quiz. Go now. If you're not quite ready for a private conversation, start here. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Want to reduce your stress even more? Here are 4 ways you can do it. 1, send us your questions. Ask us anything about money, marriage, or maturing. You can send it to podcast@presidentiallifestyle.com. Number 2, subscribe to this podcast. You wouldn't want to miss an episode. That would be stressful. And number 3, get our Prosperity Report recap. It's a free resource where we share top tools and resources. Just go to presidentiallifestyle.com/blog/prosperity report. Don't worry, it's in the show notes. You won't have to remember that. And 4, if you really want to connect with us in a deep and powerful way, join our private club. Go to joinpresidentialexperience.com to find out when our doors open again. We want you to be there so you can turn your money into meaning. And if you're enjoying this podcast, go ahead and leave us a rating and a comment, and we'll be sure to thank you. And now for the legalese. Remember, this podcast is not to replace professional counsel. The best advice comes from a professional you know. The topics discussed in this podcast are general in nature and are for informational and entertainment purposes only. We encourage you to meet with a professional that you can discuss your specific situation with, whether therapeutic or otherwise. That's all for now. I'll see you next episode. And remember, you can have wealth in all of its forms. Believe it, and you will soon see it.